All right, let's listen now to Qatar's foreign ministry spokesman.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this briefing where we will follow the development in the region and the Qatari diplomatic movement. As you have heard during the last few days, Qatar has received international 75 calls from leaders and ministers from the concerned world, and where they both discussed the situation in the region, and they have also concentrated on the ways of dealing with the threats that are as a result of the Iranian threats to the region and the war between Iran and the US and Israel. Within the framework of the diplomatic moves, Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, presided the Qatari delegation to the leaders of the GCC and Egypt and Jordan and Syria and Iraq and Lebanon and Turkey, Armenia, European Union. And during this summer, they have discussed the military escalation in the region and the threats on the regional and the international peace and ways of returning back to the negotiating table through peaceful means. And Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani has delivered a speech that included a condemnation to the attacks against the state of Qatar and the direct threat to the security in the state of Qatar. He also praised the role of the Qatari armed forces in intercepting the missiles and drones, and also confirmed the ability of the country to defend its people, the residents, the citizens, and the vital establishment and vital installations. And the sovereignty of these countries of the GCC are very important to everyone. He also stressed the solidarity of the state of Qatar in all these countries and their steps to defend their sovereignty and their stability. He also pointed out that the attacks will hurt the principles of mediation and negotiations, and he praised also the role of the Sultanate of Oman and the cooperation between the EU and the state of Qatar and the GCC, and the importance of safeguarding the peace and security in the region. He also, Sultan Saad al-Mriki, Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, have presided over the Qatar delegation to the Arab League meeting, the ministerial meeting, through the visual. And the state of Qatar has issued certain statements during the last few days. The state of Qatar has condemned on Friday the attacks of Iran against Bahrain, and also Qatar expressed on Sunday its condemnation, severe condemnation to the Iran attacks against housing establishment in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The Qatar statement also condemned all the justifications used and the pretexts and the claims of Iran in this regard. At the same context, the state of Qatar has sent a message to Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, and Michael Walsh, the U.S. Permanent Representative to the United Nations, regarding the situation in the Middle East and the attacks of Iran against the state of Qatar. The message was delivered by the Qatari Permanent Representative to the United Nations, Sheikh Ali bin Ahmed Qatar. This is all what I have, and you have any more questions, I'm ready for that. Question from Al Jazeera. Are there any direct contacts with the Iranians, and how have you dealt with the apology made by the Iranian president and the military threats after that? Thank you very much, Farah, for your question. Regarding what you've said about the contacts between Qatar and the Iranians, as you know, Prime Minister, Minister of Foreign Affairs has contacts with the Iranian Foreign Minister. This was the only contact since the start of the war. I'm not going that we don't have contacts, but we have contacts. But mainly right now, we need to defend our country. We concentrate on defending our country, our territories. Regarding what has been said by the Iranian president, as he said, we were all optimistic. It includes an apology and a commitment not to attack any territories of the Arab countries that have nothing to do with this war. But 10 minutes after this statement and this apology, we have seen an attack against the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain as well. And after that, on the same day, there was an attack against the state of Qatar. At the same time, the GCC countries were preparing a joint communique or statement in response to the Iranian president's statement, but the Iranian president's statement were not translated on the ground, and there was no need to issue this statement. For us, we will defend our country. We will continue defending our country. Qatar was not a part of this war. We were very clear on that sphere. We were rejecting to be part of this war. We reject our territories to be used as a platform to attack any other country, and we still believe that diplomacy is the best choice and the optimum choice for everyone to deal with the situation. Any aggression on the state of Qatar is aggression on our sovereignty, and our response will be equal. Peace be upon you. A question from the Qatar News Agency. The country now and Qatar are seeking to de-escalate the situation through certain signals and inviting the concerned parties to the negotiating table. What do you think? This question must be directed to the parties of the dispute. And for us in the state of Qatar, we were always saying the same thing. Every crisis must be sorted out through negotiating table. Every practice that comes within the escalation of the dispute must be sorted out through talks and dialogue. Wars will never go on forever. There were no victory forever or defeat forever, and everything must be sorted out through the negotiating table. And we have been calling on this. For the time being, the state of Qatar is under a daily attack within this war from the Iranian side, and we cannot talk in these circumstances about a role or mediation or sorting out disputes through peaceful means. The aggression must stop, the attacks must stop, but anyhow, contacts are still ongoing with other parties. We need to guarantee that there must be a way to sort out this crisis and this matter. Thank you. A question from TASS News Agency. Within the attacks of Iran against the state of Qatar, is Qatar thinking of certain financial procedures and economic procedures with the GCC countries? As you know, for us, these attacks are affecting not only the economy of Qatar, but the global economy, and we were forced because of these attacks to, as mentioned by Qatar Energy, to halt the production after attacking Ras Laffan. This is the first time ever for the state of Qatar to happen, but the impacts will be affecting the area, the global economy, and so many domains and so many spheres will be affected. Aviation and other parts, other domains will be affected greatly in the coming period. That's why we have adopted all the national procedures to make sure that our economy will stay solid in the face of these challenges. And as mentioned by His Excellency the Minister of Energy, in his interview with the Financial Times, he said we are committed to our clients, but the circumstances in the region have led us to this case and to this state. The circumstances must be removed in order for the economy to come back to normal. Dealing with these problems necessitates that we first should face and abort these attacks through the great efforts of the Qatari armed forces, and thank God for the time being we haven't seen any real attacks or real damage on the ground. Yes, there is damage, but with the grace of Allah, security is still there, and every circumstances are for our sake, the sake of our citizens and the residents. We will continue defending our country. This is the main thing now.
مرحبا دكتور ماجد. مرة أخرى الميكروفون الصوت غير واضح. هل تشعر قطر أن شيء من التفاؤل والاتجاه نحو خفض التصعيد بناء على التصريحات الصادرة حديثا من الجانبين؟ وهل هناك أي معلومات بشأن ذلك؟ وأيضا هل هناك معلومات إضافية حول الأهداف التي تم التصدي أهداف الاعتداءات التي تم التصدي لها؟ وهل هناك أي معلومات حول أي خسائر
regarding any civil damage in the state of Qatar?
وفيما يتعلق بمنشآت الغاز.
So let me answer that second question. You've been seeing the statements by the Qatari armed forces on the attacks that have been taking place on Qatar, especially in the last 2 days. The majority of these attacks, as I have said, were targeting Qatari. I mean, all of them were targeting our sovereignty. We are not prepared right now to discuss every attack and where the target was, but what I can assure you is that the targets on civilian infrastructure still continue. And therefore, we urge the international community to use all its capacity to make sure that these attacks on our sovereignty here in Qatar and in the region stop immediately. And we rebuke any justification that the Iranians are offering for this attack. This is an attack on our sovereignty, an attack on our people, an attack on our economy, an attack on our infrastructure and vital infrastructure. And therefore, this is not to be accepted and will be dealt with accordingly. Regarding the possibility of mediation right now, I think you don't need my answer for that question. You have all the parties basically saying what they think about this yesterday in various statements. I will confirm again that from our part here in Qatar, we have always believed that any conflict would only end on a negotiation table. And however difficult the situation right now is, the end of this conflict will be on a negotiation table. And therefore, the quicker we get to that negotiation table, end the escalation, stop the attacks on our countries and our peoples, the better it is for the people of the region and international peace and security and international economy. Yes?
نعم.
Can we know the fate of the crew of the 2 aircraft that has been dropped? And have you been in contact with Russia regarding any mediation in this connection? And have you made any steps? I have no idea about the fate. As we said last week, Qatari teams are searching, but I don't have any new information. Contacts are ongoing with Russia. I don't have any idea about a certain contact regarding mediation. We have heard these statements, but any role that will lead to the de-escalation of the situation will be welcomed by everyone.
No, you. أنت يا أخي.
شكرا دكتور.
أنت متنازل عن سؤالك، شو أسوي؟ تفضل.
مطبوع خلاف الكيو ام سي الإذاعة الإسبانية.
Question from Spanish radio. I have 2 questions within the escalation in the region. How can you develop the diplomatic contacts with the international and regional partners to keep the stability and security? Another question, is the Qatari diplomacy heading towards launching new initiative for the sake of de-escalation, or your priority now is to deal with the crisis? I don't know about which calmness you talk, but with the coordination with our partners, as you heard, we had daily contacts, probably more than once, every day with our regional and international partners, and we appreciate very much the contacts and calls of solidarity from different countries and the procedures that has followed through the defensive support and the cooperation in so many other domains. The coordination is going on, and there are so many calls and contacts between the leaders on a daily basis because everyone understands how serious the situation on the stability and security of the region and on the global security. The leaders of our region are doing a great job in order to de-escalate and to stop the situation and to stop the aggression against our countries. Regarding the ongoing initiative, as you've said, we are hearing from here or there about these efforts, and we see that whatsoever this war will take time, we need to sort out everything through talks.
You need a mic.
Thank you very much. Qatar relies a lot on desalination
تعتمد
plants for getting water, and some other countries in the region have been targeted. In Bahrain, for example, the desalination plants have been targeted. How do you ensure the safety of those infrastructures in Qatar?
Well, first of all, let me say with a very clear voice, targeting vital infrastructure, whether it be water desalination facilities, water tanks, food reserves, medicine reserves or medicine production facilities, any kind of infrastructure that is what sustains people's lives is a grave danger for the people of the region and beyond. Whether this is, whatever party is doing this, this needs to stop immediately. This region cannot take these kind of attacks on its facilities. We will see a humanitarian catastrophe as a result of these attacks. We've seen these attacks in both sides of the Gulf. They have affected people's lives immediately, and people, civilian people in cities should not be targeted in any war, in any conflict, in any way, and this is the worst way to attack them, which is not to not only to target civilian individuals, but to make life impossible through targeting the vital infrastructure that sustains and supports these people. We have taken all precautions in Qatar. From a military perspective, as you have seen, most of these attacks, almost all of these attacks have been deterred, and we have not had any successful attacks on our civilian infrastructure, especially on that civilian infrastructure that sustains people's lives. And we urge all parties to take immediate action to halt any attacks that would cause damage to these facilities and this infrastructure. Also, from our point of view, the attacks on energy facilities that has happened also on both sides is a dangerous precedent that will cause not only the region to lose economically and in our business models here in the region, but it will cause repercussions throughout the world. The ripple effects of attacking the energy facilities in this region, the ripple effects of blocking maritime navigation that's taking place right now. It will be felt across the world. This is not something that will be confined to this region. And we urge the international community to do all that is possible to urge all the parties of the conflict to stop attacking or harming these facilities. And for us in the region, we have taken all, as I said, all possible precautions to make sure that that doesn't happen, including, of course, halting production and minimizing production in other areas to make sure that the safety of the people who are working in these facilities is of paramount importance to us, but also to make sure that the facilities are safe and the production is safe for the future. And as soon as the situation that has put us in or caused this disruption ends, we will go back to supplying the international community and our clients and working with them very closely to make sure that the effects of these attacks are not strategic. But I have to warn that what is happening right now is going to have grave consequences for the international economy. Fadal. Mike Wara.
Hi, Dr. Majid. Adil Halim from Euronews. You mentioned the joint GCC-EU virtual summit. How does the ministry assess European participation in regional defense and security so far? And secondly, in January, you mentioned right here, you warned that further escalation could have catastrophic results in the region and beyond. Did you envision it would come to this?
First of all, as the Prime Minister has said yesterday in the meeting, we highly appreciate the European partnership in this. We have seen the Typhoon aircrafts in the joint squadron with the United Kingdom and their efficacy in defending our region. We have seen, of course, the same support come in from other European countries, including France and Italy and others, and it is hugely appreciated. I think the partnership between Europe and the GCC has proven its worth in this crisis, and we again highly appreciate the sincerity of these relationships and the constant coordination and calls happening between the leaders of the EU and the leaders of the GCC and the Arab countries affected. And this is what partnership is. And this is a time, when you know your friends and the worth of the friendship and the partnership that you have with them. And I think Europe has proven its worth many times during this conflict. But we still, of course, are coordinating with all the international community partners to make sure that we are on the same page on a lot of these issues on how to work to deter all of these attacks that are taking place. As you rightly have mentioned, we have warned in Qatar for many years now that escalation left unchecked in the region would lead to catastrophic results. We are at that moment where we are seeing the catastrophic results across the region. Right now, as we speak, you can put a map of the region in front of you, and you will not be able to find a finger-pointing space where escalation is not happening. This is exactly what we have said from day one. This is the biggest I told you so in the history of I told you so's in the world. We have said from day one, left unchecked, the escalation that started in 2023 would lead to a regional war. What we are seeing right now is a regional war that still can be contained, but the trajectory we are going through right now is a very dangerous trajectory for the region, and we keep warning that, again, this left unchecked and conflict moved from negotiation rooms to battlefields will lead to even more catastrophic results for the people of the region. Please. Mm-hmm. No, the mic is in front of you. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Majid. Just to clarify, when you were saying that on both sides there was civilians' infrastructure being hit and shouldn't be, is that a message you've been telegraphing quite directly to the United States, asking them to hold back in the sense where civilian infrastructure is being hit? And President Trump, secondly, said yesterday that he believed, or the Americans believed, that Iran was ready to strike its neighbors, which is why the U.S. intervened. So what is Qatar's view? Would the Iranians have attacked if the U.S. and Israel had not? And then just finally, what is Qatar's response to the appointment or the selection of Mojtaba Khamenei? I see only Oman and Iraq have responded officially to the new leader in Iran. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, regarding attacks on civilians, categorically, it's very clear from our position. Any party that targets civilian infrastructure, we are urging them to stop that immediately because it will have repercussions. If the civilian infrastructures are struck on the Iranian side and there is a reciprocal attack on our side, it will harm people on this side of the Gulf as well as the other side. We are communicating to all parties the same message. The civilian infrastructure should be out of this escalation and cannot be accepted. And we're communicating this not only to the parties of the conflict, but to every interlocutor we have in the international community. They need to stop this immediately. Regarding if the Iranians were ready to strike before this war, what we know is that there were no attacks on our sovereignty in the past year except for 2 attacks. One attack by Iran on the Qatari al-Udeid base, and one attack by Israel in the residential neighborhood very close to where we are right now. That is all a result of the escalation that was taking place already between all parties, and we have always, again, warned that escalation in the region left unchecked will lead to these kind of miscalculations and attacks, unprecedented attacks on our sovereignty, and we are seeing that happening right now. And finally, regarding the appointment of a new supreme leader in Iran, right now we are busy in defending our country from Iranian missiles, and we are not at the time of political niceties. And therefore, the concern right now is how to protect ourselves, our people, from the attacks that keep incoming to our country and have not stopped since the first day of this war. Yes.
Hello, sir. Thank you. I wanted to ask in regards
Introduce yourself first, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Leila Milana Allen from the PBS NewsHour. I wanted to ask in regards to US bases, whether there has been, given the inference from the Iranian government that that's what they're targeting in the region, whether there's been any discussion between the Qatari leadership and the rest of leaders in the Gulf about whether the ongoing wisdom of continuing to host those US bases, or whether that strategic partnership with the US might change moving forward.
The strategic partnership, not only with the US, but all of our defense partners in the world, is not up for question. We have taken the decision to strategically ally ourselves in this way as part of a wider regional security framework. Obviously, the current conditions and the conditions of the past two years have or are leading us to strengthen our situation when it comes to international partnerships, when it comes to defense and security, but that has no bearing on the strategic positioning with the United States when it comes to security here in the region. I think it's very clear that right now, while our Patriot systems are defending the country alongside our American friends and allies and others from Europe and beyond, that these security partnerships are the main stopgap against any and deterrent against any attacks on our countries. Obviously, right now the question is, well, if they were a deterrent, then why are we being attacked right now? Well, this is the nature of the beast when it comes to international politics. When things go out of control, when conflict spirals out of control, the result is that deterrence does not work. This has happened every time in history, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have deterrence. It means that you should strengthen your deterrence. And this is exactly what we are doing right now.
Thank you very much. Axel here, Al Jazeera English. It was reported that Iran's Revolutionary Guard says European and Arab countries that expel U.S. and Israeli ambassadors would receive free passage through the Strait of Hormuz. How does Qatar see this statement?
No one in the world, including the Iranian foreign minister, has any say on Qatari sovereignty and who we choose to host in our country and what kind of diplomatic relationships we are going to have. أثينا؟ كيفكم ما تفهموا؟
شكرا دكتور بوسينة عبد الجليل إذاعة قطر.
Thank you, Doctor. Question from Qatar Radio. When it comes to the economy, we know the problem of energy. A force majeure has been declared by Qatar Energy. When can you think the production will resume? Second, the attacks against the GCC countries is a violation to diplomacy, and it will pave the way for a joint GCC efforts. Do you think that? Regarding the production, again, it's a technical decision by the concerned parties. But clearly, I would like to say that the production has been halted because of these attacks. These attacks are ongoing, and if they will continue, the production will continue, and we will not produce. Now we have diplomatic efforts, and the GCC foreign ministers are having and making efforts. There is a great concern, a great coordination between the GCC members. This is also ongoing. You spoke about the statement that was supposed to be issued after the apology of the Iranian president regarding the attacks. Do you think this can be resumed, such communiques between the GCC countries? And what do you think this aggression will have impact on the region, because also the ceasefire is not being welcomed. Regarding the statement that we spoke about, it was in an interview with the Prime Minister of Foreign Affairs with Sky News. Yes, there was a work on such a statement after the apology of the Iranian president. But as said by the Prime Minister of Qatar, we were all feeling hope, but the statement of the president of Iran was not translated on the ground, and as if he has said nothing in this regard. Nothing has been applied on the ground. That's why we can't have such a statement. Before the stoppage of this unjustified attack on the region by the Islamic Republic of Iran, and this has nothing to do with the war between Israel and the United States from one side and Iran from the other side. So we're not part of this war. The Iranians are attacking our cities and our countries on a daily basis. When they stop, then we can think of a statement. But before that, there is no need to such a statement. Regarding those who refuse the ceasefire, it depends on the statements of the concerned parties. But as I said, every dispute will be sorted out, not by force, will be sorted out by diplomacy and talks and negotiations, and the consequences will be dangerous on all of us. A question from Sky News Arabiya. Isa al-Marzougi from Sky News Arabiya. A question or two, please. Drezmelewski said in certain tweets that experts will be sent to the Gulf to oppose the drones. Are you planning to cooperate with the Ukrainian side in this regard? The American official said that the war might come to an end, but how did you evaluate this, and how was the evaluation of the American statement? Contacts are ongoing on a daily basis with the American officials regarding the whole situation in the region. His Highness the Emir received a phone call from the U.S. President Donald Trump, and regarding the American statements, you can ask them. We here deal with the circumstances on the ground. Regarding the Ukrainian thing, I have no comment on this matter.
Let's shall we, Mike?
Question from Sharq. The French president says something about safeguarding the Strait of Hormuz, and can Qatar continue in such a case exporting? As said by the Qatar Energy statement, the halt of production was because the attacks on some facilities. The closure of the Strait of Hormuz is something else. When it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, we confirm our situation that halting and attacking the maritime routes is not something that we can accept. These things are very dangerous, and these straits are not only for oil, they are for foods, they are for production, and with the grace of Allah Almighty, we have other routes, but closing the Strait of Hormuz is a great threat to everyone. We will resort to diplomacy in order to sort out this problem, in order to avoid in the Arab Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz any escalation.
Thank you, Dr. Majid. Andrew Mills from Reuters. So just to clarify and build on that last question, you know, if the United States and France and others put together this naval escort scheme, that's not something that Qatar Energy and Qatar would be see as a viable solution to securing transiting the strait?
A viable solution would be stopping attacks against our facilities that produce energy. That's the first thing. The reason for the major we have taken, along with the dangers to the Strait of Hormuz, is the attacks on our country right now that includes the facilities on energy production. طيب يعطيكم العافية. نلتقي إن شاء الله الأسبوع القادم.
All right, you've been listening to Qatar's foreign ministry spokesman and advisor to the Prime Minister, Majid al-Ansari. He's been giving an update on Qatar's stance in this regional conflict. And here to break it down